Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Sports Outlet. I'm your host, Alex Caronna. I'm joined here today by Pete Kennedy and EJ Paras. With basketball season officially getting underway last week, we'll be talking all about the NBA and what to expect for this upcoming season. With a lot of news this offseason surrounding teams in the Eastern Conference, our first discussion question will be, what are the expectations for the Eastern Conference teams? EJ, we'll start with you.
All right, then. Well, I can confidently say that the Eastern Conference will be a lot deeper this year than many years past, especially with the blockbuster moves of Kevin Love and LeBron James to Cleveland, and basically with the reformation of many teams in the East. However, I still think that Chicago, while keeping most of their set pieces intact, Derrick Rose returning from his injuries and getting numerous veterans like Pau Gasol and solid rookies like Doug McDermott and Nikola Mirotic, I really think they can pose a serious threat in the East this year. I think they can come out at number one, and I also believe that they are absolute serious threats to represent the Eastern Conference at the championship this year.
I definitely agree with you there with the Bulls. If you just look at the first game of the season, they played the Knicks, and they handled them very easily. And then the next night, the Knicks go into Cleveland for the big homecoming and handle the Cavs. So it just shows that the Bulls are more ready right now than the Cavs are. But going throughout the whole Eastern Conference, I really like the Wizards this year. John Wall is 1 year better, and he's getting better year in and year out. Bradley Beal's going to come back from injury, ready to go. And then if you go down the list, the East is way better than it was last year. You have the Raptors, who are a solid team. The Knicks are better than what they were last year. And you can't really count out the Heat, because with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade still there, even though Dwayne Wade's all banged up, Chris Bosh is an all-star, and I see him averaging like a 22 and 10 easily this year. He'll be an all-star again, and he'll carry the Heat to, I'd say, a 3, 4, or 5 seed. The East is much deeper than it was last year, even going down to the Hornets back in Charlotte. No longer the Bobcats, but with Al Jefferson and Kemba Walker at the helm, they're a solid team as well. The East is way deeper than it was a year ago.
Perfect, wonderful. Let's keep the basketball rolling, shall we? All right, so our second question is this. Is Anthony Davis going to be the second best player in the league this year? Pete, what do you think?
I definitely believe this one. Anthony Davis is the real deal. He's been one of the biggest prospects in the league since he's came in the league out of Kentucky, and this is his year to shine. With Kevin Durant out and Derrick Rose, who knows how he'll be, I believe Anthony Davis will be the second best player in the league. He, in his first game of the year, had 9 blocks, almost had a triple-double. He's just been unbelievable, and just following through from the USA games this summer, he's looked phenomenal this year. And I think he's put on some weight. He's honed in that jump shot. He's going to be an offensive threat, and he's always been a defensive threat. He's going to be dominant this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Many valid points to say that Anthony Davis deserves to be the second best player in the NBA this year. Kevin Durant being out, there has to be someone that he could pass the baton to in terms of competing with LeBron James as like the premier elite of the NBA. And he has been putting video game monster stats this year, like the 9 blocks that have been mentioned earlier. And him and Omer Asik for the Pelicans really can be a twin tower sort of tandem in the NBA that hasn't really been seen since David Robinson and Tim Duncan and the Spurs in the 90s. And that the two of them together, they really complement each other well in the paint, defensively and offensively, with Davis handling more of the offensive load. I have a lot of confidence in the New Orleans Pelicans this year, and Anthony Davis is a huge reason for that.
Yeah, he could even pass the ball very well for a big man.
Oh,
both
totally.
Asik and Davis can both move the ball, which is just going to be great for their offense. And defensively, they board with the best of them, and it's going to be tough to stop them every night.
You think the Pelicans can go far in the West this year?
Oh, the West is so tough. It's really hard to say that they're going to go very far, but I see them in 6th seed area, give or take 1 or 2 possibly. But it's just tough out there in the West.
Sure.
The Mavs were the 8th seed last year, and they are no joke. So the West is a whole new animal. The East is better, but the West is still on top.
Of course.
Very nice. Well, boys, I think we're having a good time here. That'll do it for our first segment. When we return, we'll jump into our rapid-fire segment. Please, stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sports Outlet. Now it's time for our rapid-fire segment. I'll ask each analyst 3 questions, and they'll have about 30 seconds to respond. EJ, we'll start with you. Your first question is, what should we expect from our local NBA teams, the Nets, Knicks, and 76ers?
All right, cool question. Well, we aren't exactly the prime of the NBA, but we definitely have solid assets. The Knicks, with new coach Derek Fisher, they definitely have the new triangle offense implemented. It's going to be a while for the teams to adjust to the new offense, but eventually I think they can really be threats. I can see them making the playoffs around 5, 6 seed. The Nets, with new coach Lionel Hollins, a lot of coach switches, I believe they will have what it takes with the return of Brook Lopez from his foot injury and hopefully the resurgence of Darren Williams. I really think they can pose a threat and possibly play spoiler in the Eastern Conference. I also see them in the same area as the Knicks. 76ers, Philadelphia fans, I apologize for what you are going through right now. And with MCW possibly on the trading block. They really might have a couple more years of just the bottom of the East. It's just
Wonderful.
rough to go through.
Wonderful. Well, Pete, we're going to go to you now. Your first question is, how will the three-headed point guard system work in Phoenix?
I love it. I think it's great. With Goran Dragic, Eric Bledsoe, and Isaiah Thomas, 3 point guards who are very versatile in the sense they could score and distribute very well. But the most important part is that they all could play D pretty well, especially Eric Bledsoe, who is a little smaller, about 6 foot, 6'1", but he could guard bigger players. And they've been working packages where all 3 of them are on the floor at the same time. And Eric Bledsoe is responsible for guarding maybe a small forward, but he is so athletic that he has what it takes. And that 3-headed point guard system can work wonders for them this year. They had 2 guys who averaged 20 points a year last year. Sure. Eric Bledsoe's a stud. I think they're going to be a team to reckon with in the West.
You guys are killing it. EJ, back to you for your second question. Which team has the most to prove?
I really think the Los Angeles Clippers out in the West have the most to prove. I mean, they have so many roadblocks on the way to the championship. Every year, people pin them out to be, oh, they're my pick to win the West, but they never do. Doc Rivers actually took the team to watch the ring ceremony of the LA Kings this year. He wants to bring the championship mentality to the team. And I really think with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, that trio they have there, they really will prove the naysayers wrong when they say that they can't really move forward. Blake Griffin has been developing his outside shot. I've seen him take 3-pointers in the preseason, and he's really trying to develop his outside game. They really are one of the more complete teams in the West. I think they have the most to prove out there.
Do you think they win it this year? Do you think they make it to the finals?
I really think they can make it to the finals. I mean, like, the Spurs obviously are still there, but hey, you never know.
Radical. Well, Pete, back to you. Which rookie is going to be the best this year?
I'm going to go out on a limb. A lot of people think that Jabari Parker will win Rookie of the Year. I am going to go a little bit out on the outskirts here and say Marcus Smart is going to be a stud this year. I watched him play a little bit in the couple first games for the Celtics. He is a freak on defense. He is a ball hawk, and he knows how to get his teammates involved, and he's a gamer. He's not a great shooter, but in one of his first games of his career, he hit a big-time 3 to put the Celtics within, I think, 2 or 3 points with maybe 40 seconds left. Yep. He's a gamer, and he's going to be a stud in the NBA.
Awesome. Interesting. Very interesting. All right, EJ, your final question. What is happening with Kobe Bryant and the Los Angeles Lakers this year? Just tell me about it.
Poor Los Angeles. When the Lakers used to be like the big time of the league, now the Clippers are somehow outshining them. They're 0-5 right now. It's the worst start they've had since 1957. That is absolutely dreadful. Kobe is putting up numbers like when he was 21. But he has no one there to help him out. They really need some type of system. With Coach Byron Scott, former Lakers great there, you would think that the players would be somehow more motivated. I don't really think that they have the right mentality, at least as the Black Mamba, the killer instinct. They don't really have the motivation, the want as him. They really need, I think, new assets. I don't think their new additions, Jeremy Lin and Carlos Boozer, are really getting the job done. It's downhill until they make some changes for Lakerland.
Well, rest in peace to those Los Angeles Lakers.
Poor Kobe.
Pete, we're going back to you for your last question. Who is your early prediction for the NBA championship?
This is an extremely tough question here. And I don't want to say the Cavs, but I'm not going to say the Cavs. I'm going to go into the Western Conference and say that the Spurs are still the favorite to win the championship. And that also kind of pains me to say because I want to see someone new win a championship. But the Spurs just come in, day out, do their job. Greg Popovich is possibly one of the best coaches to ever coach in this league. I haven't seen coaches from back in the day coach, but from what I've seen, Greg Popovich is a phenomenal basketball mind, and he just gets the job done with whoever he has on the team.
Awesome. Very interesting. That'll do it for our rapid fire segment. After the break, to wrap things up, we'll get into our Coming At You segment. Please stay with us. Ladies and gents, welcome back. It's now time for our final segment, Coming At You. Each analyst will ask the other a question made up on the spot, and they'll have about a minute to respond. Pete, we'll start with you.
EJ, my question for you is, who do you think is the best backcourt in the league this year?
Best backcourt in the NBA? It's a pretty obvious answer for me. It's the Splash Brothers out west, the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. The two of them together, that is just lethal, absolutely lethal. The two of them combined for they can combine for 60, 70 points on any given night. I have Klay Thompson on my fantasy team, and I'm very happy that he's on my fantasy team because
can't argue with that.
The two of them making threes, they can make plays. Steph Curry, really one of the most elite point guards in the NBA, arguably top 3 in the NBA right now. Klay Thompson really rising in the ranks right now. People actually take him seriously. He just signed a recent max contract with the Warriors, and he is really showing them that he is worth all that money. And obviously Steph Curry, with all of his deals, all of his marketability, the two of them together really can make a splash. in the NBA, the Splash
Great
Brothers.
use of the word splash. It's hard to argue that. The only people I would put up there with them is the Phoenix Suns, because like I mentioned before, Bledsoe and Goran are just phenomenal athletes and great players. And then out in Washington, John Wall and Bradley Beal, when he's healthy, they're really tough to reckon with too. John Wall has progressed greatly over the year.
Oh, most definitely.
All right, well, your question, please.
All right, my question. All right, Pete, who is your Cinderella team this year in the NBA? Who's going to make some surprises?
My team that's going to make some noise, and it's unbelievable that they did poorly last year, but it is the Detroit Pistons. They have such an immense amount of talent on their team with two of the best big men in the game, Greg Monroe and Andre Drummond, two of the best rebounders in the game straight up, and as well as Brandon Jennings, who's a great athlete and good scorer. Josh Smith is one of the best athletes in the game. They have a young stud in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who I think is only getting better from here. But the most important thing, because they had talent last year, now they have Stan Van Gundy at the helm, who is a proven winning coach who I think is going to put the Detroit Pistons in the right direction, and they will make some noise in the Eastern Conference this year. Still blows my mind that they didn't make the playoffs in the terrible East last year. This year, they'll get back on track.
I agree. I probably could not pick a better team. I guess if I had to choose any representative from the Western Conference, I guess I'd say the Sacramento Kings. They're not exactly.
I like the Kings.
They're not really going to make a threat this year specifically, but they do have the pieces. They have Boogie, DeMarcus Cousins, and Rudy Gay, Darren Collison, the newest point guard addition. They really have what it takes to make a noise in the NBA in the coming years.
Awesome.
Can't mess with Boogie.
Can't mess with Boogie. Perfect. Well, boys, I hope we all had fun here today. I know I did. That'll just about do it here on Sports Outlet. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, if you're interested in joining LTV, like us on Facebook or email us at ltv@tcnj.edu. For Pete Kennedy, EJ Perez, and Alex Caronna, have a good one, please.